Good afternoon. So, in this video lecture, I'll be discussing the mitigating circumstances. Mitigating circumstances, but prior to that, before me starting, I would just have to make a disclaimer that this video is not for sharing. This is made for educational purposes only, and any unauthorized copying or sharing or videoing of this video is strictly prohibited and shall be dealt with under the penalties of law. So that's just a quick disclaimer. So let's now go on to mitigating circumstance. For the past lecture videos, we talked about the first two circumstances which affects the criminal liability of an accused. Okay, so you have the exempting circumstances and the justifying circumstances. For the succeeding lectures, I'll be discussing the mitigating circumstance, the aggravating circumstance, and the alternative circumstances, which are the rest of the circumstances affecting the criminal liability of the accused. Okay, so let's first start with mitigating circumstance. The third circumstance in the revised penal code which affects the criminal liability of the accused. What is a mitigating circumstance? Mitigating circumstance are those which, if present in the commission of the crime, do not entirely free the actor from criminal liability, but serve only to produce penalty in terms of degree or period. It does not erase criminal liability nor change the nature of the crime. So in layman's term or in vernacular, ang mitigating circumstance, ito ay hindi nakakapagtanggal ng criminal liability or yung pagkakasala ng isang akusado, no? Unlike the exempting circumstance, sa pag-present yun, wala siyang criminal liability. But in the case of mitigating, bawas lang yung magiging penalty niya sa batas dun sa crime na nalabag niya under the revised penal code. And nabanggit ko kanina na it will only reduce the penalty in terms of degree or period. I'll be elaborating that pag dumating na tayo sa discussion of penalties. Kumbaga, in general words, mababawasan lang yung kanyang sentensya. Mapapababa lang ng isang degree or ng isang period kung minimum yan, maximum or medium period. So, hindi niya binabago yung liabilidad ng akusado. Pinapababa lang niya yung magiging penalty. Okay? So, yun. What are these mitigating circumstances? So, I'll be enumerating all the mitigating circumstances under the revised penal code, and then iisa-isahin ko yan na i-discuss sa inyo together with its elements and examples para mas maintindihan ninyo. Okay? So, the first mitigating circumstance is the incomplete justifying or exempting circumstance. On the past lecture video, we have discussed the exempting or justifying circumstances. Pero, if yung justifying circumstance is incomplete, pag sinabi natin incomplete, ma-justify sana yung act, kulang lang ng isang element. 'Di ba? Kasi kung tandaan nyo, dun sa justifying and exempting circumstance, para yun ay magkaroon ng justifying and exempting circumstance, the law or the revised penal code specifically provides for the elements para makumit ito or para magkaroon ng justifying or exempting circumstance. So, kung hindi man makomplete yung element ng justifying circumstance and exempting circumstance, pwedeng pumasok yung liability niya as mitigating. Kumbaga, marireduce yung penalty niya. Kasi, dapat justified naman yung act niya, pero dahil hindi na fully fulfill yung elements niya, pwede siyang pumasok sa mitigating circumstance. Okay? So just a brief background lang, but I'll explain it later. Okay? So the second mitigating circumstance is over 15 and under 18 of age if there is discernment, or over 70 years old. So this talks about minority who acted with discernment. Pag sinabing discernment, meron siyang kaalaman na mali yung ginagawa niya. Alam niya yung consequences ng ginagawa niya. Okay? Or over 70 years old, which is the age of diminished criminal liability. Okay? Third is no intention to commit so grave a wrong, or praeter intentionem. So dito just a brief quick background is that hindi mo inaasahan na mas malala yung magiging effect. Okay? So different kung ano yung intention mo na gawin. Okay? Fourth, sufficient threat or provocation on the part of the offended party. Okay? So, dito, kaya mo nagawa yung crime is because pinrovoke ka ng akusado. Sa kanya nagmula yung panghahamon or provocation para mangyari yung crime. So, since siya yung nauna, tapos may nangyari na crime, pero hindi inaasahan na halimbawa ay may nangyaring krimen, yun. May liability pero mas mababa ang penalty. Fifth, vindication of grave offense. Sixth, passion and obfuscation. Seventh, voluntary surrender and confession of guilt. Voluntaryo kang sumuko sa mga pulis otoridad, hindi ka na nagpahabol, hindi ka na nagtago. At saka, the other one is, umamin ka na sa kasalanan mo. So, mas mababang penalty. And, may physical defect ang offender, may sakit ang offender, and other similar analogous cases. Okay? So, there. Those are the mitigating circumstances. Okay? So, there are kinds of mitigating circumstances. So, ano-ano ba to? One, ordinary mitigating circumstances. And second, privilege mitigating circumstances. Bakit nagkaroon ng ganitong classification sa mitigating circumstance? Kasi nga, 'di ba, nabanggit ko kanina na ang mitigating circumstance, it just affects the penalty na i-impose dun sa akusado. Okay? Kung ano yung magiging hatol sa kanya. So, kaya nagkaroon ng ganitong classification is that when we go to penalties, ang ordinary mitigating circumstance, pwede siyang i-offset sa aggravating circumstance. Pero pag privilege mitigating circumstance, hindi siya pwedeng i-offset sa aggravating circumstance. Ano-ano ba yung ordinary mitigating circumstance? Ano-ano din yung privilege mitigating circumstance? Okay. So, ang privilege mitigating circumstances, ito yung mitigates the criminal liability of the accused by graduating the imposable penalty for the crime being modified to 1 or 2 degrees lower. Okay? So, 1 or 2 degrees lower siya and enumerated under the law kung ano yung mga nasa mitigating circumstance under the revised penal code that are privileged. Okay, don't worry, I will give you the list of those privilege mitigating circumstance and those that are ordinary mitigating circumstance. So basically, kaya lang nagkaroon ng ganitong classification is for the penalties to be imposed to the accused kapag ka-mitigated yung liability niya. Okay? So, for broad explanation when we go to penalties. Okay? Now, what is mitigating circumstance na ordinary? So, yun ay yung mga hindi privileged, which is I will also give you the list kung ano yung privileged at hindi sa nakasaad sa revised penal code ng mitigating circumstance. Okay? So, let's discuss the first mitigating circumstance. under Article 13, Paragraph 1 of the Revised Penal Code. Okay? So, first is the incomplete justifying or exempting circumstance. Okay? So, ito, nabanggit ko kanina, it applies when all the necessary, when all the requisites necessary to justify or exempt from criminal liability are not present or attendant. Yun yung sinasabi ko sa inyo. Kaya nga the term incomplete. Okay? Hindi na kompleto yung elemento ng justifying or exempting para ma-justify yung criminal liability niya, para wala siyang criminal liability. So, dahil hindi yun na kompleto, pwedeng pumasok siya sa mitigating circumstance. Magkakaroon siya ng criminal liability, pero the penalty will be lower. Okay? That's the effect of the incomplete justifying or exempting circumstance. So, ano ba yung circumstances ng of justification or exemption that will make place para mapababa yung penalty? Under paragraph 1 of Article 11, we have the self-defense. Paragraph 2, we have the defense of the relatives. Paragraph 3, the defense of a stranger. Paragraph 4, the state necessity. Paragraph 5, performance of duty. Paragraph 6, obedience to order of the superior. Minority, causing by mere accident under Article 12, Paragraph 4, and uncontrollable fear. Okay? So, kapag incomplete self-defense yan, may isa doon sa element ng self-defense na wala. Kaya papasok siya sa incomplete exempting or justifying circumstance. Okay? So, yun. So, let's go to paragraph 2. The minority or senility. That the offender is under 18 years of age or over 70 years. In case the minor, kapag minor, he will be dealt with under Article 80 of the Revised Penal Code, which I will be discussing in the future. And dito kasi sa mitigating circumstance nito, yung age ng accused at the time of the commission of the crime ang i-determine. Okay? Hindi yung age na kung kailan siya nagte-trial. Again, itong mitigating circumstance of minority, the basis of the age of the accused is his age at the time of the commission of the crime. Okay? So, yun siya. So, what are the legal effects in various age? Kapag ka 15 and below exempted yan sa criminal liability, ibig sabihin wala siyang criminal liability. Pero kapag above 15 but under 18, exempting din yan unless he acted with discernment. When we say he acted with discernment, alam niya yung legal consequences na ginagawa niya at that age between 15 to 18. Alam niya din na yung ginawa niya is a crime, and very well aware siya na yung ginawa niya is mali, is a wrongful act. Okay? Pero kahit ganun, since mitigating nga ito, may criminal liability kahit his age is 15 to 18 basta he acted with discernment, but the penalty is always 1 degree lower. Okay? So, mas mababa. Kasi nga, ito ay mitigating. Okay. So, yon. 18 years or over, full criminal responsibility. So, kapag ka-committed yon, kasi age of majority is 18 years old, full responsibility, nakakaharapin niya kung ano yung ipipenalize ng batas sa kanya. Kapag naman 70 years or over, mitigating circumstances. Yan, mitigating circumstance yan. Kapag halimbang committed ng isang 70-year-old na lolo, ang crime of robbery, yung penalty niyan is 1 degree lower, mas mababa sa kung ano yung nakasaad sa batas. And kapag ka naman may death penalty, ay bawal siyang impose ng death penalty. And since suspended ang death penalty, so wala. Okay? For the next mitigating circumstance, it is a praeter intentionem, or no intention to commit so grave a wrong. When we say that, hindi mo inaasahan na yun yung magiging epekto ng crime na ginawa mo. Okay? So, this can be taken into account kapag ka, when the facts are proven, shows that there is a notable and evident disproportion between the means employed to execute the criminal acts and its consequences. So, yung means na in-employ mo, hindi sapat dun sa naging effect. So, maaring mas hindi ganun kagrabe yung intention mo, pero dahil merong ibang circumstances, ay yung effect ay mas naging grave. Okay. So, ano ba yung dapat na ano ba yung dapat na, for example, one example would be may food si A, nakita may food si B, pero galit si A kay B. So, nilagyan niya ng parang something na powder, which nagkakos lang ng pagtatae. Pero dahil may complication or may sakit pala si B, dahil dun sa powder na yun, yung powder na yun, for example, is very bawal dun sa health condition niya. Ang nangyari, namatay si B. So, since ang intention niya is just to pagtaihin si B, but it turned out, namatay siya dahil nga hindi niya naman alam. So, there is no intention to commit so grave a wrong. So, that's a mitigating circumstance. Okay? Let's stop for now. I'll be continuing the fourth and the succeeding mitigating circumstance in the next following video lectures. Thank you.